Well, with that being said, let's talk about the debate. So like we published a video. It was like a short, like 10-minute video that we made right after we had watched the debate. Like after all three of us had watched the debate, and we were basically giving our initial thoughts. Now we're like on the debate overall. Now we're going to get into some details, probably some that have already been covered quite extensively by other media, uh, because it feels like fucking 100 days since that debate happened, and like there's been a whole lot of shit that's happened since then. But we are going to talk about it and just like give our personal opinions on the different moments that were in it. But first, we are going to just talk about COVID, like the COVID segment. And so, like, but before we do that, we want to point out that pretty much every poll since then shows that Biden is the perceived winner. And, that was, and, so like Alex was correct when he predicted that, this would overall be like a net positive for Biden. My prediction kind of came true, like saying like Trump and Biden were going into the debate with very low expectations for Biden, because of how he's performed in debates in the past, in which he just endlessly gaffes. Like he seems like he's not completely there. And Biden had his clearly had some senior moments uh, during the debate, but it was basically anything short of Biden shitting his pants on stage was going to be considered a win for Biden, since and he didn't crash and burn. In fact, he held his own in some parts. Despite there were also some moments in which it seemed like Trump owned him. But yeah, overall, like, but in the public's perception, this was overall like a pretty positive night for Biden. And we'll get into moments to kind of demonstrate why. But yeah, first we're going to talk about the COVID segment, and given Trump's recent diagnosis, it certainly makes this moment seem uh, pretty like that's probably like the worst aged moment from Trump's presidency, if you ask me. And it's only been like, and they're only like 3 days apart.
Yeah.
Where not that one. Okay. Oh wait, can you hear the sound at all? Like it was playing for a little bit.
Wait, try playing again.
No, I forgot to share the sound. And
President Trump, you have begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
masks?
You have to understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I wear masks when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also said the opposite. They've also said
no serious person said the opposite.
Well, look
serious.
at Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the opposite.
He did not say the opposite.
We got
He
a
said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good. I'm okay with masks.
I want to ask you both about one last subject. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir. Agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up.
people with masks.
But
Wow.
sure, nobody shows up to his rallies.
That's
In any
just-
case,
that's-
why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars, and
about
we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issue,
people.
sir?
Well, so far, we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect, and we've had 35, 40,000
All right,
people.
you wanna-
at these rallies.
He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing, but you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen,
Wow. Trump makes a COVID. The fact that Trump makes social distancing and limited crowds about who comes or not is really just narcissistic and really shows his own personality.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the enthusiasm around Biden is mostly just surrounded around like, the idea of just being anti-Trump. That, to be fair, but on top of that, Biden purposely doesn't hold these big rallies because he knows how
Yeah.
dangerous they are. And when Trump said, we've had no negative effect, ask Herman Cain what he thinks about the negative effect of
Yeah.
your rallies.
Ask the city of Tulsa, which relegated about at least 10% of the spike in COVID cases to that same rally.
Right after the rally.
Yeah, right after the
Yeah.
rally. A lot of the spikes came in COVID from that rally. About from 500 people, 6,500 people.
Yeah. So it is very ironic, and he's saying oh, I have a mask, I only wear it when I need it, and then well, apparently you needed it before, but
Yeah.
that clip is
Even
only,
when you were in the Rose Garden.
yeah. The Rose Garden, which he announced Amy Coney Barrett. In fact, Amy Coney Barrett apparently had COVID back during the summer. And that was that was a little bit interesting to hear about. I don't think she would have it now, right?
I mean, she could. You can get it twice. So.
Well, I don't think she would have had it for that long. At least that one single infection.
I mean, it depends. People recover at different rates. So.
Yeah. So there's another clip from the COVID segment, just talking about overall Trump's handling of the job and handling COVID, in addition to talking about hypothetically what how Biden would have handled it, because Trump said you if it was just 200,000, it would have been 2 million or whatever, and it was come on, man. Anyway, I gotta say it in the Joe Biden voice, come on, man. All right, let's pull that clip up.
based on what you have said.
Oh, hold on. Let me full screen it before playing it. And then cut that part out.
Based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, The question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to you.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand.
How is that relevant?
You look at what we've done. I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country.
Wait a minute. It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no economic recession.
Sir, you made a
There was no recession.
You made a point. Let him answer.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far more people. Far more people.
And,
you would have been.
And by the way, his own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on.
Ah. Well, Trump's talking points utterly failed him in this debate segment.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to unpack there. So like, yeah, forgive us if we miss any particular point that was covered in this. But yeah, like Trump brought up his like China travel ban. I mean, like, let's talk about the obvious point with that, and that's really all that needs to be said. COVID
That
was already in the United States.
Yeah,
It's not.
we already had like a few cases, and at that time, as you may have heard, there were a lot of red tape restrictions around getting an actual test. So
Yeah.
people wanted to get tested or say, hey, whether I have coronavirus or not, it was limited to only the government, certain hospitals, and it wasn't accessible nationwide.
Yeah.
And the thing is with that, you know, now this had a good segment fact checking him. There was about 400,000 people prior to that travel ban, January 29th, that came in the country from China.
Yeah. And that, like, yeah, I don't think there would be, anything that, Trump could have done to keep COVID from coming into the United States. It was really just like how he handled it afterwards. Like that was the question. It's not like, can we prevent COVID from coming to the United States? And the question was like,
It's
what are
like
we
how
going
we
to
can
do?
prevent it from spreading within the United States.
Yeah, because it was like with Ebola, like we only had 2 Americans die in the
Yeah,
United States from
because
Ebola. It's
yeah,
like,
because the Obama administration, they were very good at working with hospitals, ensuring that people weren't showing symptoms of Ebola.
yeah, and on top of that, Ebola was just a little bit harder to spread. Like
Yeah,
they would spread through like body fluids more or less. Like if someone was like riding the subway, they were holding onto the rail with like sweaty hands and they had Ebola, and then like someone came in and then like grabbed the same rail, like that would be like how Ebola would spread. It wasn't like an airborne disease. But and speaking of like other uh diseases, this was brought up in the debate. H1N1, swine flu. Yeah, like let's yeah, obviously that's not a comparable
no,
situation because
it's
like
really not.
Biden said like 14,000 deaths. We never had like a recession or an economic shutdown. I don't remember swine flu at all.
Me
Like
either. I don't remember it. I don't remember
like
schools talking about it. I don't remember any major news about it because at the
yeah,
time it really wasn't affecting many people of the country.
at the same like I'm assuming that schools would have just said, okay, make sure you put on hand sanitizer before you go eat lunch and don't share food, and that was pretty much what they told us every day
Yeah,
already. Like I remember them telling us that all the time. Like when we were walking in our little lines to go to lunch, we always were met by our teacher with a bottle of hand sanitizer. So like I don't remember any of that stuff at all. I remember Ebola just because like it was in the news a whole lot and like I was paying attention at that time. But yeah, I don't remember swine flu really much like at all.
yeah. I believe my seventh grade science class dedicated a whole discussion to Ebola. So,
Yeah. Whereas like, I bet if I was that same age and COVID was happening, I probably would have remembered it because, schools like were shut down. Like we're all like forced to like wear masks outside and, we can't really go anywhere without taking like the proper precautions. And a lot of places are still closed. And, so it is very much different from like swine flu, H1N1. So it's like those are the two exact same things, right? I'm just making sure.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, like that in itself is kind of beside the point, but yeah. I guess that furthers my point. Like I don't remember swine flu and all at all. Like I don't know really anything about it other than, it happened during Obama's presidency. 14,000 deaths happened from that, which is still a lot. But yeah, it's
but
nowhere.
it's
It,
just
it's
not a lot.
nowhere. Yeah, it's not nowhere near comparable to like our situation with COVID.